The shadow behind the door. In a quiet and gloomy suburb, where every house seemed the same and every street was covered in a shroud of mystery, lived a young woman named Emily. She was accustomed to a peaceful and secluded life, so when night fell and darkness settled outside her window, she preferred to spend her time in her small cottage. One night, as the clock on the wall showed 11:45, Emily heard a faint sound of a doorbell. She looked up from her book and furrowed her brow, as she did not expect any visitors at such a late hour. Nervously, she cautiously made her way to the door. Her heart raced, and thoughts of who could be behind the door at such a time flooded her mind. Emily cracked open the door and was met with darkness. In the dim light, she couldn't see anything except for a shadow standing before her. She felt a cold breeze creep into her home, causing her to shudder. Suddenly, she heard a faint whisper coming from the darkness. "Help, please help me," the voice whispered. Emily looked around in fear, trying to understand where the voice was coming from, but there was no one around except for herself. She looked back at the shadow before her and said with a trembling voice, "Who's there? What do you need?" The voice from the darkness replied, "I'm lost. I'm lost in these streets. Help me find my way home." Emily felt the hairs on her arms stand on end. Her instinct told her that something was not right, that there was something sinister behind this voice. She tried to close the door, but something strong held her back. She felt her strength slowly fading, while the shadow before the door became more distinct. The voice grew louder and more insistent. "Help me! Help me!" It penetrated every fiber of her being, making her doubt her actions. In the last moment before Emily lost consciousness, she heard a whisper, "Now you will be with me forever." The next morning, neighbors found Emily unconscious on the floor in front of her door. She was pale and exhausted. When she regained consciousness, she told them about what had happened, but no one believed her. They thought she had simply had a nightmare. Since then, Emily was never the same. She avoided nights and doorbells, living in constant fear and anxiety. She realized that the shadow that visited her that night had stayed with her forever, never allowing her to find peace. Chapter 2. Revelation of the past weeks passed since Emily experienced her horrifying encounter with the shadow behind the door. She lived in constant fear, avoiding nights and doorbells, yet the shadow still haunted her in her nightmares. She often woke up drenched in cold sweat, trembling with fear, and her heart pounding as if it wanted to escape her chest. One day, in an attempt to find some relief from her nightmares, Emily decided to delve into her family's past. She started exploring documents, photographs, and records of her ancestors. Deep within the old albums, she found a portrait of her great-grandmother, Elizabeth. Emily remembered her mother often telling stories about her great-grandmother, who also experienced inexplicable and terrifying phenomena. She spoke of strange sounds, shadows that pursued her, and the constant feeling of being watched. Emily had always dismissed these stories as mere fairy tales, but now they seemed more real than ever. Immersed in her research of her family history, Emily discovered another unsettling piece of information. In the pages of her great-grandmother's diary, she found mention of shadows that haunt us through generations. Emily shuddered, realizing she was not the first to encounter this ominous presence. She decided to talk to her mother about her findings. As they sat in the living room, Emily shared her nightmares, the events of that fateful night, and her discovery in her great-grandmother's diary. Her mother, Catherine, furrowed her brow and fell into deep thought. Then she took a deep breath and began recounting a story they had long kept hidden from Emily. "My dear, these are not just tales from the past," Catherine said. "The shadows that haunt us belong to an ancient cult known as the Shadow Order. This order is devoted to dark forces, seeking eternal life and power. They seek ways to infiltrate our realms and use us for their sinister plans." Emily listened with her mouth agape, unable to believe her ears. She could hardly fathom that her life was intertwined with such a dark and dangerous history. "You must be cautious, my dear," Catherine continued. "You have witnessed how they breach our world through doors. They seek weak points to enter our reality. We need to find a way to protect ourselves and stop them." A mix of fear and determination welled up within Emily's heart. She realized she couldn't just sit and wait for the shadow to reappear. She resolved to delve into ancient texts, legends, and rituals to find a way to resist the Shadow Order and protect herself and her family. Chapter 3. In Search of the Truth. Emily immersed herself in the study of ancient texts and legends, hoping to find answers to her questions and understand how to stop the Shadow Order. She spent days and nights reading and researching, delving into the world of ancient mystical knowledge. In her search, Emily came across a mention of an ancient artifact known as the Key of Light. According to legend, this key possessed the power to unlock true knowledge and destroy the influence of the Shadow Order. It was said to be hidden somewhere deep within the forbidden forests, not far from where Emily was born. Convinced that the key could be the key to defeating the Shadow Order, Emily decided to embark on a dangerous journey to find it. She gathered the necessary supplies, including flashlights, maps, and a compass, and set off on her quest. As she made her way through the dense forests, Emily could feel a mystical energy gathering around her. The wind whispered enigmatic words, and the trees seemed alive, as if they held the secret she was seeking. She continued moving forward despite her doubts and fears. After several days of travel, Emily finally found the cave where, according to legend, the Key of Light was kept. She entered cautiously, illuminating the darkness with her flashlight. Deep within the cave, she discovered an ancient altar on which lay a small stone, emitting a faint light. Emily approached the altar and carefully picked up the Key of Light. In that moment, she felt its energy coursing through her hands, filling her with strength and determination. She realized that she now possessed a tool capable of standing against the Shadow Order and protecting those in danger. Upon returning home, Emily shared her journey and what she had found with her mother, Catherine. Catherine was proud of her daughter and at the same time concerned about her resolve to confront the Shadow Order. She warned Emily that the forces they were now facing were immensely powerful, and they needed to be cautious. Armed with the Key of Light and the knowledge she had gained, Emily began preparing for her next battle. She assembled a team of trusted individuals to join her in opposing the Shadow Order and uncovering its secrets. They knew that trials and dangers lay ahead, but they were determined to resist evil and restore light and peace to their lives. Chapter 4. Battle for the Light. Emily's team, consisting of brave and dedicated individuals, each contributed to the fight against the Shadow Order. Together, they studied ancient texts, unraveled secrets, and honed their skills in preparation for the upcoming battle. They learned that the Shadow Order was attempting to infiltrate the human world, using their mystical powers and manipulating dark energy. Through their agents and followers, they sought to create chaos and destruction to strengthen their rule. Emily's team decided to begin their fight against the Shadow Order by attacking their weak points and disrupting their plans. They devised a strategy that included reconnaissance and ambushes to neutralize the Order's dangerous agents. During their campaigns, they encountered numerous trials and dangers. They battled magical creatures, overcame traps, and fought against the followers of the Shadow Order. But they never gave up because they knew their goal was to restore light and order to the world. As the team progressed in their fight, they began to realize that the Shadow Order had a connection to ancient forces that extended beyond their reality. They understood that to ultimately triumph, they would have to confront the very source of darkness itself. Ultimately, Emily's team found a path to a powerful source of darkness known as the Black Core. They understood that destroying this core was the only way to free the world from the influence of the Shadow Order. The battle with the Black Core was tough and dangerous. It pushed the team to their limits and required all their strength and courage. But thanks to their determination and collaboration, they managed to overcome obstacles and reach the core. Emily, holding the Key of Light in her hand, used its power to destroy the Black Core. In that moment, she felt the energy of light penetrate her being, absorbing the darkness and restoring balance. After the destruction of the Black Core, the influence of the Shadow Order began to fade. The magic they once wielded weakened, and they lost their power. The world began to heal, and people could once again live in safety and light. Emily and her team became heroes who freed the world from the Shadow Order. They were honored and respected by all who witnessed their feat, but they knew that the fight against darkness never truly ends, and they would continue to stand guard over the light. And so, The story of Emily and her team's journey in search of truth and their battle against the Shadow Order came to an end. They proved that even the smallest lights can defy darkness and bring change to the world. Their story became a legend, inspiring future generations to fight for light and goodness.